o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Michelle will read the sunshine law, please.
Let the minutes show that adequate notice of this meeting as required by Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, has been provided by the annual notice, which has been posted on the bulletin boards filed with the Borough Clerk and has been sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Independent, the Star Ledger, and the Two River Times.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Sheridan.
Here.
Councilmember Cooper.
Here.
Councilmember Good.
Here.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Here.
Councilmember Fotopoulos.
Here.
Councilmember McDermott.
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Here. As a courtesy to those around you, please silence your cell phones and please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can remain standing for a moment of silence. Please keep the officers and the civilians in last week's tragic shooting in your thoughts and prayers today. Thank you. This time I'd like to call Ed Carew forward.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to take a few minutes to introduce you to our new library director and have her tell you a little bit about her background. And I think we're going to go into a very exciting time. And I would like to introduce Janet Torsney. And she'll tell you about her background. But this is Isaiah Cooper right here.
How do you do?
Deli Associate, you remember, as the
Yes, I do.
liaison. This is Matthew Good. And William Opel is our lawyer, counsel. Of course, you know Mayor Kennedy. Michelle Clark is someone you'll probably be working really close with.
Sorry in
She's the
advance for
Deputy
that.
Clerk. Joe Sheridan he's the senior man on the board.
Ah.
He's had more time, I think, than just about anybody here, including us, because we've been here for a while too. Victoria Pacheco.
Hey, how are you?
And Victoria used to be a liaison for the library, and Dennis Fotopoulos. Dennis is we have the better half of the Fotopoulos.
Yes.
And over to my right is our business administrator, Steve Gow.
Sorry in advance for bothering you.
No, it's fine. It's no bother at all.
So I'm very excited about the prospects, for the library. You know that in the past few years we've been making some inroads and changing some things, and I think with leadership that we have been able to determine based on whatever you can learn in an interview, that I think we've got a good candidate, and I think that you're going to see changes, and I think the borough will see changes that will make us proud to be here, and our little library will grow. And it's always been my objective to have the best little library it can be, with an emphasis on little, because we are little, but there's no reason why we can't be the best at that. I think Janet will help us get there, because she has the background. So without further ado, Janet,
Thank you.
please take a few minutes.
Excuse my back.
Great.
Thanks for having me. I'm very, very excited to be here. I previously was director of the Bradley Beach Library, where we did everything from very small grants to a very large ADA bond. Not that I'm saying we have to do that. And I was assistant director at the Montclair Public Library, which is where I grew up. So I was very proud to be there. And I'm a trustee. I was a trustee of the Asbury Park Library for 5 years. So I love libraries, and even though I'm an older person, this is my second career. Previously, I worked in nonprofit communications for Save the Children and UNHCR organizations like that. So I have a lot of communications experience, and I have appreciation for how libraries are today, which is much more out in the community, much more involved in the community. So I think your library is beautiful. I think your community is so interesting and energetic, and I'm really looking forward to making the library experience in the building and in the community outstanding for everyone. And I really look forward to working with you all. I'm really interested in fundraising and community building and sneaky literacy. I want everybody to read, but I don't want to stress them out about it. So I think we're going to have a great time, so thank you very much for letting me come tonight, and I know it's a busy time, so I especially appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Next up, we have committee reports. Councilman Sheridan.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a finance meeting before this meeting. It went well. The Historical Society just had a successful candlelight house tour this past Saturday. I'd like to thank those who have participated in the Christmas tree lighting and Santa coming to Keyport 2 weeks ago. That was always fun. And lastly, I just wanted to wish everybody a happy holidays, and I wish everybody a new year, a prosperous and healthy new year. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Cooper.
Good evening. I'm deferring the rec report to Councilwoman McDermott, but with the senior citizens, they had their annual Halloween extravaganza, and there was a good but a low turnout. The salute to our veterans program was definitely well received. Our veterans were very well informed and appreciated, and the Council on Aging was represented there as well. November was all about Thanksgiving, enjoying gift of gratitude, discussion, kindness, etc. The Monmouth County Sheriff's Office inmate program came back to the center and painted a dining room, cheerful color, and that's all of mine.
Thank you. Councilman Good.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see, with regard to the fire department, for the month of November, there were 30 calls for service, bringing the year total to 515. And I got some kind. Here we go. The hours. 280, almost 288 hours, and then for the year we're up to about over 7,800 volunteer man hours. I'd also like to congratulate our new election, the Board of Chiefs, the incoming Board of Chiefs, and the new Chief of the Department, Joe Moscatella, First Assistant Jay Vasari, Second Assistant is, why am I blanking? Yes.
It gets worse as you get older.
Yeah, no, that's, oh my God. Joe, help me out here, why am I?
Strang.
Tim, there we go. Flager, and the third baby chief is Pat Strang. So I'd like to congratulate them and a wonderful new year. That's all I have.
Councilwoman Pacheco.
Yeah, so the police report, the month of November, we had 907 calls. That brings the total to 10,953 year-to-date. 68 cases this month in the Detective Bureau. That brings the year-to-date total 843. We had year-to-date 37 DWIs. We had 1 Narcan. And the police provided security for the Christmas tree lighting, and they were professional and cooperative as usual when needed to partner with other law enforcement agencies. Municipal Alliance met last week to discuss the grant, which was submitted for the next 4-year cycle, sorry. We also wanted to discuss some programming for the school year, so we had discussions specifically surrounding about offering yoga to the students once or twice a month, depending on what the funding allows. The Harbor Commission met also last week to discuss, goals for next year, and we also kind of talked about, any updates we need to make to the leases and stuff like that. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Patapia.
Thank you, Mayor. Health Department collected $2,138 in total. No dog licenses or cat licenses this time. Donna, can we work on the dog license? No, just
Due January.
Make up for it next month.
She will. They're only due once a year.
Recycling coordinator, the recycling coordinators, Donna Purcell and Robin Sheridan, are thankfully working on the brochure this year. little to no changes that are going on. And once the brochure is completed, of course, we'll send it out to the public. And Donnie, do you have something to add? And we're going to update the website according to the brochure. The website is not public yet. We're shooting for a mid-January timeline to beta the site for about 2 weeks, and then it'll go live. The Environmental Commission did not meet this month. However, there's an effort to ensure that the leaves and the debris, winter debris, don't impact our storm drains as much as they are. I thank everybody for their service. I thank you for letting me serve, and have a happy new year.
Thank you. Councilwoman McDermott?
Thank you, Mayor. So with the building report, the building department report is included in the report in our agenda. The key points, the state DCA fees, we had 28 of those. Smoke detector inspections, 33 were issued. Code enforcement, C of O, 33, which fell in line with the smoke detector inspections as well. So that gives a grand total of $25,800.79 in building fees. The library did meet for the last year, and we did have our last final meeting with Jackie, the current director of the library, and we had a nice little gathering after. So again, we want to thank her for her years of service as a library director, and we look forward to having new endeavors and new opportunities with our new director that starts January 1st. There will be a transition, a week, 5 days of what we call transfer knowledge or on-the-job training between the existing director and the new. So that's a good transition plan that was kind of embedded within the strategy. KBBC, we had our last meeting of the year, and we're gonna continue moving forward, and we're looking for more activities and excitements to happen next year. And I do want to thank everyone who served on the KBBC board. I think we had some amazing events from the Music Fest, including subcommittees as well. From the Music Fest down to Music Thursdays and all these activities that we've had. We've also, even with the tree lighting, where KBBC sponsored a pizza disc. So I think one of the things we've done throughout the years really partner with our businesses, and also we've done some great new programs of business development that the mayor has helped lead on that. So I think that's, we're really reaching out to our new businesses, and we've also had a significant amount of ribbon cuttings. So if you're not on social media, please watch and monitor and support our businesses locally. We love them. And we also look forward to planning those things for next year. And again, we'll be doing committees again, so if there's anyone interested in joining those subcommittees, we'll have some announcements or some actions for that. The other thing was, I also want to thank Public Works, Construction, Property Maintenance. I know we've had a lot of significant activity throughout the year with developments, whether it's the homes being refurbished for new tenants, or new construction in town. I know it's been a lot of this construction's been occurring in town. It's great to see, but I know it's also been a bit of a traffic impact for some neighbors. So we do appreciate everyone's patient understanding with that as we continue to work to fix our roads and all those great things that we're doing in town. And also, we're always open for feedback. So if there are issues that you see out there, please submit those through our portal on our key portal online, and with photos, so that we can go ahead and take care of those. Someone's not following a protocol, please submit them not that way, so we can get to it as soon as possible. That's it for me. And Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Gallo for Administrator's Report.
Good evening, Mayor and council members, citizens here in the chamber. I'll briefly report on some of the activities since our last meeting. I had the following meetings. I participated as a panelist on a Sustainable Jersey webinar, attended a meeting with the Board of Education. We held a meeting regarding improvements to the recycling yard, and a follow-up meeting regarding recycling and trash pickup in general. We participated in a special meeting regarding the potential 75 Manchester redevelopment. Met with the police contract committee, participated in a meeting regarding our water system interconnections with neighboring towns and New Jersey American Water. Participated in a conference call where our credit was being reviewed by Standard & Poor's. We're hoping for an upgrade from our AA minus rating. I met with Deputy Court Administrator Angelina Campos, who's presently on leave of absence, which is expiring at the end of this month. Met with Clay Perlman regarding his Mariners Village redevelopment and participated in the Finance Committee meeting, as Councilman Sheridan mentioned. Regarding ongoing capital projects, regarding the Perry Street Water Treatment Plant upgrade, as reported under separate cover, we have discovered a 555-gallon underground storage tank located on the borough's property. It was identified as being full of petroleum product, and it was reported to the NJDEP on November 26th. The borough has 45 days from that date to identify the assigned LSRP and provide a plan. With that time frame, the borough will have to coordinate services with the New Jersey DEP underground storage tank certified contractor and conduct the closure of the tank. We've also reported this matter to our insurance company. With regard to the actual water treatment plant upgrade, the plant upgrade is moving along well. They are in the process of finalizing the equipment installation, and we're hopeful to have a startup scheduled in the month of January. Then the contract will have final restoration work and punch list items to complete in January and early February, and we're hopeful to have the project completed by the end of February and close it out in March. We also have associated with that the FEMA-funded hazard mitigation plant generator at the Perry Street Water Treatment Plant and the mobile generator for our 2 sanitary sewage pump stations, and those should also be online in January. The outfall pipe extension at Beach Park is nearing completion. All the pile driving has been done, and we have to remove the coffer dams. Test pits and video inspection of the existing outfalls were conducted, and the cleaning, video, and inspection of the Beer Street outfall was completed last month as well. Based on the results of the pipe inspection at Beach Park, the pipe has settled and has various open joints, so our engineers are recommending a change order to replace 150 feet of 30-inch clay pipe from the manhole outfall to the manhole back in First Street, and I believe that change order is up for consideration. The contractor is awaiting delivery of storm pipe and the check valves to install. There has been a delay in the manufacturer for the check valve, but they're anticipating that stuff being here in mid-January. With regard to the underground utilities contract A for the current paving project, they did test pits are completed in areas where the proposed storm sewer will cross existing utilities, and they have identified several conflicts. The design for Division Street and East Front Street had been revised to clear the existing utilities and issued to the contractor. That work was ongoing this week. The storm sewer work on East Front Street was completed on December 13th, and the work on Division Street was begun on the 13th, is still underway. They've completed concrete work on Kearny Street. They have also partially completed concrete work on 3rd Street, but there are some issues with finishing that up because there are some gas main conflicts with the sewer that they have to extend, and they won't be able to do that work until they actually install the new inlets and sewers on 3rd Street. East Front Street, the concrete work is done between Church and Osborne, and the remaining work will be completed after the completion of the storm and sanitary improvements, including new catch basins, and this will include concrete work in front of the Garibaldi Restaurant and Italian Touch. Kearny Street should be paved tomorrow. The other contract that's ongoing is with Esposito Construction, and they've completed the mill and overlay of Center Street. They completed concrete and paving work on Kearny Street from Stout Street to the dead end, and they completed work on Hurley and Warren Streets. Currently, the crew is working on the storm sewer and curb and apron work on Main Street, after which they'll have to have a time for settlement. The same issue applies on the sewer work on 3rd and East Front and Division. So it's likely that they're going to put on a base coat and then let it settle over the winter and then come back and do the finish coat resurfacing of those streets in the spring. Main Street Playground, I'm happy to report that the skate park equipment, which was delayed in production by wildfires and power outages in California, has progressed, and the latest update from the manufacturer, Spahn Ranch, indicates that the equipment will be shipping from California, scheduled for the 2nd of January, and arrival here on the 9th, when it will be craned into place on the pads that have already been installed. On Benjamin Terry Veterans Park, the parking improvements are completed, the irrigation system's been winterized. They're going through a number of final punch list items, including some work that I was sent some pictures today on the ramp going down to the beach to make it more handicap accessible, to eliminate a drop-off. So that's been completed as well, and then they'll close out the project and file for reimbursement from the Monmouth County Open Space Trust Fund. Just as we're finishing that job, we begin to contemplate the work at the Jack Harney Street Park. That project will be complete rehabilitation of that small pocket park with county open space funds and Green Acres funds in the form of grants. So the taxpayer, direct taxpayer funds from Keyport property owners is minimal. The next step is for us to do a phase 1 environmental assessment, and we have a proposal, and the CFO is reviewing that at this time. We received a grant to resurface Church Street, and that's a project that we look forward to getting underway in the next calendar year. We also had a survey completed for our recycling yard property, and the survey identified that we own significant additional property there beyond the fences, and we're working with our engineer, our public works superintendent, and clean communities coordinator to expand the recycling yard and relocate all of the dumpsters from Rowell Place to this location. We've also asked our attorney to write to the property owners who are encroaching on our property and advise them that they have to move certain improvements that they put in place. We met last week with Millennium Strategies regarding the pending library grant that we expect will be authorized in January. We do have a plan in place. We've identified the major improvements that we'd like to undertake, and if we're successful with an application, the grant will fund 50% of the cost of those improvements. Is a good opportunity for us to get the library in good shape at half the cost of what it would normally cost us, so we're looking forward to moving that forward. Flood damage prevention ordinance will be reintroduced in January. We're waiting for comments from any council members and Councilmember Good that we can incorporate before we move forward. We did receive a DEP Drive Green grant for $12,000, and we're presently obtaining quotes for electric vehicle charging stations, and we hope to have one installed in the spring of next year. We awarded a contract for the Transportation Alternatives Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project, and that contract is with CME. They will be kicking off with a community meeting to talk about the scope of the project and make any needed adjustments or additions, and also to bring in county, which has promised the resources and has promised to support our efforts to have additional identified crosswalks on both First Street and on Broadway. And they would be responsible for striping them on our behalf, and we could use some funds to do crosswalk identification signs. And we anticipate that being a large part of this project, but that should be ready to kick off in early January. We also have awarded CDBG grant for Broad Street sidewalk improvements from Maple Place to Route 36, and we're hopeful to put sidewalks, curbs, aprons, and curb ramps and crosswalks on that street, and to coordinate with the the county for the resurfacing of Broad Street, which hasn't been done in over 25 years. We also have a grant for the first aid building from CDBG for ADA access improvements, and we're hopeful that they get that job off the ground shortly. With regard to redevelopment, I met with the project principal for Mariners Village, and he submitted a memo from his attorney to our attorney outlining the outstanding steps that need to be taken before the project breaks ground. The Redevelopment Council is reviewing the memo. Longview Boatworks continues to surcharge the property in anticipation of construction in the spring. We did have a community meeting on 75 Manchester, and I think we received some valuable input from the community. And the developer listened carefully, and a follow-up meeting has been scheduled for early January with the redevelopment committee, as well as the borough's development professionals, in the hopes that we can come up with a plan that would pass muster with the residents in the community and the governing body that would fit into the neighborhood and be acceptable. We also have, circling the airport, I get regular calls from developers who are interested in talking to us about building a parking deck and maximizing their value by having residential property on top of the parking deck. We did agree some months ago that we would formulate a parking advisory committee, and we need to get that appointed so that we can begin a discussion about parking in general and have a comprehensive study about what our needs are, what they're going to be in the future, and how we can address them. Aero Marine, I met with Redevelopment Council on this on Monday. We're sending a follow-up letter to the owner, asking him to produce his landfill closure plan within a certain number of days. If they do not produce the plan, then our intention is to contact NJDEP and ask for enforcement. And on highway redevelopment, I'm reviewing the process to request assistance from DCA to have their planning professionals assist us with preparation of a redevelopment plan for our highway commercial districts. We've ordered the equipment to install here in Borough Hall to have public Wi-Fi for the use of visiting consultants as well as the general public. I talked about the library bond earlier. With the neighborhood preservation program, we need to appoint the steering committee and the NPP coordinator. I've kept up with the required monthly and quarterly reporting requirements and launched a community survey that I hope everyone had a chance to respond to. It'll be open until the 30th of this month, and then we'll be able to tabulate the data. We also need to conduct stakeholder focus groups and have a project plan in place by the end of January. On New Jersey Direct Install, I was pleased that we were able to finally get the reports of surveys that were conducted over the summer. And they have some really good recommendations for energy efficient improvements at the library, the Borough Hall, Senior Center, and the DPW garage. In as much as we're contemplating leaving the DPW garage, I don't think we should make an investment at that facility. But at the other locations, the New Jersey Direct Install program will pay 2/3 of the cost of these upgrades, and we have to pay for the 1/3, but the calculations give us the recoupment date. That is how long the energy savings, it would take for the energy savings to pay for our 1/3. So these are basically self-financing projects that are very important. Most important, they will provide reliable and efficient air conditioning service both to the library and to the senior center, which has had problems in the past with their air conditioning. And also lighting improvements throughout all of the buildings that will save a significant amount of money. And in discussions with our CFO about where we come up with the 1/3 share of our financing, and then hopefully we can commission this in the very near future. That's basically what we've been working on, and answer any questions from you guys.
Steve, yesterday BlackRock was out redoing the curbing on Madison Street. Did it not hold, and they had to do it for a punch list item?
They
And
did, yeah.
also here by Santander.
Yes.
Curbing.
Yeah, they had resurfaced Lower Main Street. In the past, there were some defects with the curbs that were noted. Sometimes, occasionally, the milling machine might cause a crack in the curb. And our engineers have we have retainage on the job, and they've monitored it, and they've identified some of these defects and asked them to come back and make repairs, so that's what they've been doing.
I wasn't sure if the trucks on Madison Street damaged the curbing or whether that was from, because there wasn't a curb there before, and then I know they were trying to go over the curb, but that was, they deemed it as
It
a
continues to
project.
be an issue over there, but we did notice right after they installed it, there was damage there, and they finally got around to addressing it. But consideration should be given to installing something to prohibit vehicles from backing up onto the ground. And we had hoped the curb would be enough, but I think we should look at a guardrail or perhaps some decorative stones in that area to stop the mounting of the curb and causing mud holes on that median.
Anyone else have questions?
we know about Standard and Poor rating?
I'm not sure, I would say within a month. Yeah, that would be great if it would, been pursuing the coveted AAA rating.
You kidding? That's crazy.
That would be great, yeah. Tom Fallon runs a tight ship, I think, he's a great CFO.
Only two updates I have are that we should have the Holiday House worship schedule finalized by tomorrow morning. And we'll be sharing that with the senior bus committee as well, in case they're able to secure drivers to be able to bring our residents to some of the holiday services that will be taking place. And we'll publish the schedule as well, like last year. And just a reminder that this is our final Borough Council meeting of 2019, and our reorg meeting will be January 1st at noon at Keyport Central School. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Resolution 32319 is the payment of bills. Resolution 32419 authorizes borough employee participation in various levels of coverage under the State Health Benefits Program. Resolution 32519 is an increase in authorized amount for tax council services for 2019. Resolution 32619 is pre-qualification of certain professionals for the Borough of Keyport, County of Monmouth, New Jersey for calendar year 2020. Resolution 32719 is authorizing a salary differential for Deputy Borough Clerk Michelle Clark. Resolution 32819 is authorizing the promotion of Sergeant Stephen Dixon to the position of Lieutenant in the Borough of Keyport Police Department. Resolution 32919 authorizing the promotion of Officer Robert McCartan to the position of Sergeant in the Borough of Keyport Police Department. Resolution 33019 is approving applications submitted by Keyport 44 Realty LLC for a 5-year tax exemption or abatement pursuant to the 5-year exemption and abatement law NJSA 48:21-1 & Resolution 33119 is authorizing the issuance of a new liquor license upon failure to timely renew pursuant to NJSA 33:1-12.18 for the 2019-2020 license term regarding TC Inn Beverage Corporation. Resolution 33219 is authorizing a change order to the contract with CRS Contractors, Inc. for Beach Park and Beer Street outfall improvements. Resolution 33319 establishes the We Value Our Veterans Initiative Advisory Committee. Resolution 33419 is ratifying and confirming the emergency declaration by the Borough Engineer that the discovery of an underground oil tank at the Perry Street Water Treatment Plant constituted an emergency, and ratifying the authorization for the Borough to make any necessary payments for remediation. Resolution 33519 is authorizing the execution of a quitclaim deed to effect the previously adopted vacation of a public right-of-way across portions of Block 21, Lots 6, 8, 10, and 11 in the borough. Resolution 33619 is a resolution permitting the transfer of excess appropriations pursuant to NJSA 48:4-58. And Resolution 33719 is authorizing the renewal of the membership with the Monmouth County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund and the execution of any agreement related thereto.
Thank you. Anyone from the dais have a question? Have a motion open to the public?
Motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public wish to come forward on resolutions on the consent agenda? Mr. Lane?
Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. On resolution 332-19 on asphalt pipe, what's the amount?
$23,500.
Replacement of the clay pipe that you mentioned, is that going to be between East Front and First?
It's between First and the outfall.
Oh, just
Under the
between-
park, yeah.
Oh, so it's not between the townhouse
No.
and the parking lot. Oh, that's good news.
Yes.
That's great news. On resolution 330-19, the tax abatement,
Yes.
For Keep 44 Realty LLC. The tax assessor indicated the fair market value for the first condo was $303,900, and that the tax abatement for 5 years is going to be a reduction in the assessed value of the improvements of $68,500, and that means we're going to get a tax payment around $5,650 for those units per unit. That's a great deal, and I think that accomplishes what the 5-year tax exemption abatement program was set up to do. And so that's really good news. Councilwoman Pacheco, when we talked about the transfer of the liquor license to Susan Merla back on 11/12, we talked about having members of the Keyport Police Department, and I think it was Shannon, communicate and coach Susan relative to her responsibilities as a liquor license owner. Has that taken place?
I will follow up and I will.
It has.
It has, I thought so, but I didn't want to speak on it.
Oh, okay, that's great news. But I just mentioned from your report from the police department, there's been, since we had that license transfer, but there's been 2 fights involving patrons who were either coming from that establishment or in that establishment. And so, sounds like coaching was needed. Thank you.
Anyone else on the line? Mr. Beverly?
Can't hear you, Mayor, sorry. You know, when I go to a planning board meeting, it's nice and loud and clear. When now everybody's gonna pull up.
We got you covered, Ed.
Okay, perfect, I can hear you loud and clear. Matt sometimes is, fades away, I think he's sleeping sometimes.
I do that at the planning board meeting too.
I know that. My question is, when you have a meeting, special meeting, and our engineers come out and architecture, all you people, who pays for that? If you have a special meeting other than Tuesday night's meeting?
The professionals would be paid for by the applicant.
So you're referring to last week?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I just want to clarify that you meant like last week's
Yes.
meeting.
Well,
That was like
not
a
only
community
last week, but I've been noticing sometimes you guys have special meetings, and I just don't think it's right that you have a special meeting, and then the taxpayer has to pick up the tab for that.
As Mr. Gallo was indicating, I'll let him finish. I just wanted to clarify which meeting you were referencing.
Sure. In those cases where it's pertaining to the proposed redevelopment, the redeveloper has established an escrow account, and the cost of our professionals is borne by that escrow account.
Oh, that's good to know. I just kind of wondered, pretty costly for a little town like us to pick up the tab for that.
No doubt.
Yeah. I know Mike had asked about the alcohol. I'm not sure, I think that was one of my questions I was gonna ask tonight.
Sure.
What was the cost of the job without what was the cost of that job without their extra work? Without their,
It might be in the change order if you give me a chance.
not the change order.
No, it might be in the change order, usually that includes calculation, 232, 36.
No, the original contract was $448.50.
That's not too bad.
That's grant funds, okay?
Grant money,
FEMA grant fund, 90% FEMA grant funds.
9%, so we pay 10%, is that how that
Yes,
works?
that's correct. Yeah, and that includes Beach Park and the outfalls are
Going over into
Beer Street.
division and all that?
Beer Street.
Beer Street.
Division is a different project.
Kind of like a pretty nice project for not a bad price.
Now, listen, and it's gonna improve drainage in that area.
Oh, I
And
bet.
it interconnects with the improvements we're doing on Division and on East Front. So that's all gonna drain out through that new outfall, which frankly had been buried for years.
Yes, yes.
If you stood on the beach, you could see the water bubbling up through the ground. Now it's gonna flow out quickly and drain that area appropriately.
Did you guys know that there was a pool there years ago?
Pool.
A pool or a pond?
Pool
Where?
or like a
Pond.
Excuse me?
A pool where?
Right there,
Beach Park. Beach Park.
Beach
yeah.
Park, there was a pool right there. Okay, thank you, thank you.
else from the public wish to come forward on resolutions on the consent agenda? Have a motion to close?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have approval, can I have a motion for approval on the resolutions on the consent agenda?
Move it.
Second.
Have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Sheridan.
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Councilmember Good.
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitopoulos.
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes. Next on the agenda, we have public hearing adoption of ordinance number 1, ordinance number 20-19, restricting through traffic onto Union Street when school is in session. And just for clarification, that is between Osborne and Atlantic Street, but Michelle will read the entire title.
Ordinance number 20-19 is amending Chapter 7 Traffic to reflect revised traffic regulations for Union Street.
And again, that's only between Osborne and Atlantic. Can I have a motion to open to the public?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone who wishes to come forward to speak about ordinance number 1, 20-19? Mr. Pop?
Jack Straub, 239 Main Street. Quick question, what happens on election day?
People vote typically.
This way, that way.
What exactly?
They can park on the streets, but just not in that area.
Parking
Because
lot,
the
on
parking-
election day, normally you park in the parking lot, you have to pull into the street to get into the parking lot.
Right, so on election day, the school is open and the teachers park in that parking lot, so it's not really a free flow parking lot, so it may.
They park in some of the spaces, but it's my polling place. So there are a number of spaces that says polling place, so they generally park in their normal area. And then there are generally other spots, because the front of the building is first aid, you can't park along the street there, and you can't park in the first aid driveway. So the only place to really park for the polling place is to pull in, and then pull into the lot. So if the street's closed, just an FYI, you might want to figure out a way where people are going to park on election day.
So in theory, it's always been closed anyway, it was just up
I
with the
understand. It's
tire
been-
ring,
right, it's been-
right? So
exactly.
we're just making it legal, so, the only way we could do that is to, refrain it for that day, but I'll defer to the chief of police on that, who
I
happens
think
to
you
be
could
here.
still approach by driving up the one street, Union Street, and then down and entering.
You cannot enter the first aid without going on to that portion. Both entrances are on that portion. There is an exit on the other side, but I don't think
Okay,
you
I
can
didn't know it was
pull in.
only an exit, but okay.
It's my polling place too, and I always park and walk.
Yeah, we could suspend it for the day.
You can do the same thing, but
Ride
for,
your bike.
I could do that, but some
I got
senior
you.
citizens
No, no,
might.
I understand that day.
Just a thought. Okay,
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to come forward? Have a motion to close to the public?
Motion closed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Move it.
Second.
Have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Sheridan.
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Councilmember Good.
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitopoulos.
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes. Have a motion authorizing the clerk to publish the ordinance as adopted.
Motion to publish.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance number 21-19, creating a handicap parking space on Church Street. The clerk will read the ordinance by title.
Ordinance number 2119 is an ordinance of the Borough of Freeport, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, amending Chapter 7 Traffic, Section 7-2, Handicapped Parking, and Schedule 21, Parking Area for Handicapped Persons of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Freeport regarding 91 Church Street.
Have a motion open to the public.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public wish to come forward? Seeing no hands, can I have a motion to close to the public?
Move it.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Motion.
Second.
I'm gonna let the clerk get caught up and then I'll go to roll call. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sheridan.
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Councilmember Good.
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitopoulos.
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Can I have a motion authorizing the clerk to publish the ordinance as adopted?
Motion to publish as adopted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any no or abstain?
Sorry.
Communications by consent for approval. We have items number 1 and 2, and then we have receive and file, items number 3, 4, and 5. Do I have any discussion on this before we open to the public?
I do. Just the point number 2, the reason that that's being sent in now is because we're gonna do a Triple Crown 5K, and it requires to make this public knowledge and publish it as part of the marketing for the Triple Crown. So it's at Union Beach, Keyport, and
Middletown.
Middletown, thank you. So that's the reason that that's there now, instead of later in the year.
You get a special medal if you got it already.
Very nice.
Any other commentary before the public? Have a motion to open the public for communication.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wish to come forward on items listed in communications? Mr. Lane?
Michael Lane, Freeport, relative to communication item number 4, which is my email that I sent you regarding the base flood elevation information in the flood damage prevention ordinance. The flood damage prevention ordinance has been stalled for a long time. It was back in, I think it was November 2018 that it was first proposed for introduction. At that point in time, Councilman Good wrote a memo where he outlined his objections, and there were extensive number. There was been multiple meetings with the borough administrator, with the borough engineer, with the Matrix New World as the flood management engineer, and I hope that this present ordinance that was scheduled for introduction at the last meeting was the end. But since it wasn't, I think we deserve, the team that's worked on it, to find out what the comments are and what the issues are and to have them written down.
Mr. Lane, even if it was ready to go tonight, we wouldn't be able to intro it. You can't intro and then carry to the next year, so we would have to wait till January to intro it anyway.
You missed my input. I didn't communicate clearly. We would like to know what the problems are.
I understand, but you were indicating that there was a delay because of communication amongst the people that have feedback on it. But it's not because of that, it's because we can't intro now and carry into the next year for adoption. Am I incorrect, Mr. Opal or Mr. Gallo?
You're correct.
It was scheduled for introduction at the last meeting to be voted on
And
at this
one
meeting.
council member asked for it to
Right.
be pulled, and that was a unanimous decision to pull it for
Right,
feedback.
and what I'm asking for is why was it pulled? So that we can, just as we did, we took on the issue of datum 88 information, we took on the issue of the tidal gauge in Keensburg, we took on all the issues that were outlined in his memo, and all determined to be invalid.
I'm sorry, did you say you determined them to be
No,
invalid?
were determined to be invalid by the team that worked on this.
What team?
Mr. Gallo, would you identify the team, or you want me to?
A number of people have been involved, but I don't know that we found anything invalid.
Well, we didn't adopt the suggestions.
Who's that we? I think the council is the ultimate people who adopt ordinances.
I'm not arguing with that, I'm saying, what are the present issues with the present version of the flood damage prevention ordinance?
Oh, I haven't had an opportunity to meet with our engineer after the last one.
All right, the memo I sent you was one of about 6 or 7 memos that were issued relative to the objections that were listed back in November of 2018. Now, I don't know whether you're aware of, at the same time that the media was broadcasting all the information about the pawn shop in Keyport, they were also informing the public that in November of this year, the New Jersey Rutgers study team, and with the input from the NJDEP, issued a report dated 11/19, New Jersey rising sea and changing coastal status, or storms report on the 2019 Science and Technology Advisory Panel, which was supported by both Rutgers and New Jersey Department of Engineering. And when I heard the input at the last meeting, I was wondering, there's no way the council could have not, or have taken time to look and review that report. That report's available. I will send it to you by email. And what it does, it reinforces all the information we put together on BFE plus 3. It talks about the fact that the sea level along the Jersey coast since 1910 has risen more than 1.5 feet. I don't know if you're aware of, there used to be garages, boathouses, bulkheads along the waterfront that were 25, 30, 50 feet out further into the bay than they are now. All those garages, all those boat sheds are gone. And that's just a reflection of the sea level rise since 1910. Now, they go on to project sea level rise not just through 2100, but through 2150. And they make a point, it's going to rise significantly, which just reinforces and emphasizes the information that was in this email that I sent you, that talks about why that even BFE plus 3 is a very conservative number. It's a very conservative number. And our study up to now had only talked about sea level rise through 2100. Further, there's now a new 2019 New Jersey State Hazard Mitigation Plan, and it reviews sea level rises at Sandy Hook since 1932. And the sea level rise at Sandy Hook since 1932 is more than 1.3 feet. And they're projecting further. So again, another report that says our numbers are conservative. And what surprised me in the hazard mitigation report was that, well, two things. One that didn't surprise me, it says the CRS program, Community Rating System, can lower the cost for flood insurance to residents in Keyport. I have to buy flood insurance by up to 35%. What surprised me, the borough of Keyport is not even listed in the state hazard mitigation plan as participating in the CRS program. Did I miss something? I thought we were going to be a participant.
That's correct. We've begun the assessment of the steps that we have to take to achieve the first rung on that ladder. We anticipate that there'll be progress made within the year.
What was surprising me, Hazlitt, Middletown, Keensburg, they're all listed. There's a whole, Keyport's not even listed. So the fact is that we really deserve to know what the issue is in the flood damage prevention ordinance. So the people who have done the research, Andrew, who headed up the Community Resilience Element team, I and my team that headed up the Land Use Element team can respond. As we did respond with more than a half dozen memos the last time, quote, issues were identified. So when can we see the issues?
When it's ready.
Pardon?
When it's ready.
When it's ready. So you're going to change it. Without any input from the Community Resilience team, without any input from the Land Use Element team.
I thought you just asked when you could see it, and his reply, albeit short, was when it's ready. So if that means that that's when he's going to give it to you. Is my interpretation correct?
I was going to get together with the borough engineer and discuss it. I think there are some issues regarding form and maybe not so much substance, but definite form issues.
I think we identified that we needed some definitions and grammatical corrections at the last meeting, am I correct?
Definitely
Yes.
definitions, definitely.
And it'll be supplied to the council as they are
I'm
the
just
legislative
saying,
body.
the last definitions that were supplied, like sea level,
Bless you, bless you.
were all invalid. And so, again, I ask that you supply the teams ahead of time with that information so we can get back to you. Thank you.
Mike, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The report is New Jersey's rising seas and changing coastal storms.
I will do it by email.
I have it right here, I just want to verify that that's what it is.
Yes,
So it's New Jersey's rising seas and changing coastal storms.
yes,
That's it.
and it's
November 2019.
2019.
Okay, thank you.
And we used the earlier version of that report, which was available. Andrew, do you remember when that earlier version was
Is that
available?
October 2016?
Could have been,
That's the report I saw.
okay.
Anyone else from the public wish to come forward on communications on the agenda? Have a motion to close,
Move it.
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
May I have approval and file and receipt of communications?
Motion.
Oh, second, sorry.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Sheridan.
I'm gonna vote yes, and I'm also gonna thank the Green Team for getting Keyport its award for bronze level sustainable Jersey certification.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Councilmember Good.
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember Patapoulis.
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Reports of department?
Report number 1 is the municipal clerk's report for November 2019. Report number 2 is the tax water sewer collector's report for November 2019. Report number 3 is the Board of Health Treasurer's report for November 2019. Report number 4 is the Building Department monthly report for November 2019. Report number 5 is the Municipal Court monthly report for November 2019. And report number 6 is the Tax Assessor Status Report dated December 2nd, 2019.
Motion
I'd like
received.
to comment, thank you for having the tax assessor utilize his Keyport email address, I did note that on the report.
Thanks.
Sorry, Councilman Sheridan.
I was just gonna make a motion to receive and file, but,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. All in favor?
Favor. New business, we received communication today from the chair of the Fireman's Ball. I'm gonna defer, this, everyone received it tonight on the, dais, and I'm deferring this to our fire commissioner, Councilman Good.
Yes, I think every year we get this. This is to celebrate the Hank Young as is coming to the end of his year. I believe that each year we take out a half-page ad. So I would move that we just follow tradition.
I'll second.
Do you need a resolution, so we could just do it, with communication, I'll just leave them in the business.
Do you want to open up the public?
Can I make?
Councilman, you have a question?
No, I was just, since we're discussing it, it's the 50th annual anniversary, it's the $25 more per full page, would anybody think that that's a bad idea?
I was gonna suggest the same.
Alright, I was just going with what we usually do, but.
Yeah, it's a 50th anniversary.
We can up it,
It's
that's
the
good.
50th anniversary, that's my point.
Okay, then I will amend mine for a full page ad, how's that?
I'll second that.
We'll need a roll call on that, please.
Councilmember Sheridan.
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Councilmember Good.
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember Patapoulis.
Yes.
And Councilmember McDermott.
Yes. This is a governing body act, right?
Anyone else have any new business to add? Unfinished business? Attorney's report? Have a motion to open to the public comment portion,
Motion.
limit 5 minutes
Sorry.
per person.
Still motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Kelsey?
Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. I have a question for Mr. Opal.
Yes.
For Oprah requests that are denied using the deliberative process exemption, would that preclude a member of the governing body from sharing that document?
Oprah requests are handled through the custodian, the records custodian for the borough, which is the borough clerk. So technically, anything that's denied pursuant to Oprah, usually that denial is processed through the borough clerk's office.
Yes, I understand, but if that document is denied and the resident requests from the council to supply the document, are they able to supply that at their leisure or pleasure?
Going around the custodian's this doesn't implicate Oprah. So, I mean, it's...
Well, I think there might be some concern that Oprah may or may not make it possible for somebody else to share the document. Would that have any relevance to that?
I don't think it has any relevance because Oprah requests, the Public Records Act contemplates requests being made to the custodian of records and the custodian providing a response, whatever that response is. So what you're discussing is something outside of the Oprah process.
Okay. So basically, Oprah would not make it illegal for someone to share the document. It would be other laws like HIPAA and,
Certainly, there's many other laws.
Yeah,
You can
right.
name a number of other laws that would be implicated by, depending on what I don't want to speculate, but what's in the document. I guess.
Right, okay, thank you.
Mr. Lane?
Michael Lane. About a couple of council meetings ago, I gave out a list of unfinished business items. I'm going to read the list and then I ask you to give a status report on these items. Establishing land use regulations for marijuana dispensaries in the town. Cleaning up all the making sure all the dumpster enclosures are in place. What's the status? Update of the tax board mod 4 data to reflect the new zoning ordinance. Establish a database for tracking non-conformance uses on sites in the town. Completing addition of the missing sections 25:1-17 through 25:3-29 of the land use regulations. Updating ordinance number 14-13 to reflect the new building height requirements in the town zoning ordinance. Borough lot 20.01 and 20, which has, or it's 24 lot 22, which have trailers on them, borough owned. Enforcement of the Keyport Unified Planning Board conditions requiring an operational pump station at 25 East Front Street. Adoption, we just talked about it, the floodplain dimension ordinance, but also of the floodplain development permit. And finally, any estimate on what it would cost to demolish the old factory buildings at 75 Manchester. Because based on my experience in demolishing buildings, the $400,000 estimate is really, appears to me to be very high. So if you could comment on those items, which I gave you in writing two council meetings ago.
Mr. Gallagher, you have any updates on any of those?
I'm gonna decline to accept the shopping list of Mr. Lane's personal grievances. If he'd like to stop by and talk to me about them, I'm happy to give him an update. Many of those things are in play in various stages of enforcement. I'm mystified by the $400,000 price to demolish 75 Manchester. I don't know what he's talking about. And, again, I certainly have shown him every courtesy. If he wants to stop by the office, I'd be happy to discuss any of those items.
Anyone else from the public? Mr. Rowland?
George Long, 242nd Street. I had a meeting earlier with Mr. Gallo, and he answered some of my questions, but I have a couple more. Davis Locksmith on the highway, what's the status on that?
We issue violations on a regular basis. If he complies, he complies. If he doesn't, he gets a summons and he has to go to court.
Do we know if any summonses have been issued?
Certainly have been in the past. I don't know the current status of any outstanding ones. You can find that out, George. If you want to stop by tomorrow, I'll let you know.
All right. We have some ordinances on book that really aren't enforced. One is storage containers. We have one up on the highway that the fire department uses. The Army and Navy store, when I gave the photos of the dumpsters that need to be enclosed, there was the picture of that container there also. How come those ordinances aren't being enforced?
I actually inquired myself a couple years ago about the one at the Army Navy store, and I was told that was grandfathered in because it's been there since the building was there.
Wrong.
That's what I was told upstairs.
Who told you that?
I don't recall, but I do know that I inquired about that myself because
Well, I'm not saying you didn't, but who told you that it was
I don't recall
grandfathered
off
in?
the top of my head, but it was when I first went to council a few years ago.
Did you
But-
take notes on any of that or anything?
I might have, I don't know where they would be at this moment. They're definitely not on the days with me tonight.
No, I understand that, but I'll give you 2 weeks to check it out. Maybe you can get back to us with a report. Because they are on, and there's no asterisks in there stating anything grandfathered in to the ordinance.
Mr. Gallo, would they be or wouldn't they be?
If it pre-existed, the ordinance, then it would be a pre-existing non-conforming use. I don't know anything about you're talking about the one at the Army Navy.
Between
store.
Army
Yes, sir.
Navy and Yellow Rose Down.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that, but if it was there before we had the ordinance, it would be a pre-existing non-conforming use.
If you recall, it was that one that I inquired about and the one, there's like an electrical, I don't know, there's nothing in it now, but across the street on the other side of 36.
Yeah.
There was an electrical contractor there and he had one and they made them move that one.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm the one that complained about that one.
Well, I complained about both of them at the same time and that was the answer that I was given, is that the electrical was new and that they could enforce that, and that the one at Army Navy they couldn't enforce.
And all this was done at a public meeting?
I was the liaison at the time and made an inquiry. It was probably a phone call.
Oh, no, I'd just like to see the paper trail on yours.
If I
Thank you.
have one, sure. Mr. Lane?
Steve, my perception, and I took notes at the last public meeting on 12/10, was that the developer quoted $400,000.
There was a $400,000 price for remediation, not for removal and demolishing the building, for cleaning up the pollution.
There was two $400,000 numbers given.
Okay.
One was for demolishing the building, the other was for contamination cleanup.
Understood.
And then there was other things, I guess, utility or whatever, for a total of $1.2 million to get started.
I thought that was the acquisition price.
No.
I thought it was acquisition.
I'll go back and listen to the tape.
Okay.
But it seems to me a piece of homework would be to go out and contact somebody like Red Bank Recycling, what they would charge to take the building back, or somebody else who's in the recycling business. It would be homework for the borough to do.
Yeah, you seem to enjoy giving out homework assignments. We're working on having these buildings removed by having the property redeveloped. How about you give us a chance to accomplish that?
We're working on having the buildings removed first, so that there's more options for the redevelopment.
How are there more options if you have them removed
If
first?
they're removed first and they're removed by the present owner
Yeah.
because they're unfit, then there are more options for the redevelopment.
I don't understand how there are more options. That removes the option of rehabilitating the buildings and using them for an industrial purpose.
Then, I have no problem with that, but they're unfit and they should either be rehabilitated or demolished?
Well, we have an engineering report that said that they're not in danger of collapse and that they could be reutilized. And you have Mr. Vecchio's report and his comments as well.
Well, two things. Your engineering report says only that the buildings are not gonna collapse on themselves. It gives extensive details on unfit conditions in the building. You have a borough ordinance that says you have to take action on unfit buildings. And the petition that was signed by 5 residents
Sure.
applies to that existing ordinance, which requires Mr. Vecchio to inspect and write a report, none of which he has done.
I think he issued a report.
No, he
It's all
has
letter.
not, per the ordinance, inspected the buildings and written up the results of that inspection.
He did, he said he looked, he went by, and he also, as well as reviewed the engineer report, and that was his conclusion.
The definition of what an unfit building is, you go inside, and it's so unsafe you can't even walk around the building.
I don't think that's the definition of unfit building. It doesn't say that in the ordinance or in the statute.
I encourage you to recheck the definition of unfit building.
I've read it several times.
I get a different reading than you get.
Okay, well, that's the problem with definitions.
And second, quote, this is a laundry list. The Borough Council's leadership of the borough, I would expect you to have an interest in all these items in terms of their status.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Anyone else from the public wish to come forward? Do you have a motion to close to the public?
No,
You got a hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Mr. Fox.
Daniel Fox, 40 Church Street. Just trying to find out, how much money has the borough invested in the old E-Cottage Inn property?
In what way?
Well, you sent an email to the borough attorney, Matt Good, and him about financing a bulkhead for them out of taxpayers' dollars.
Yes, and you received it by mistake.
What?
Okay.
You
Yeah.
told me that you weren't spending money,
The
but you
answer
just
to your
acknowledged.
question is, we didn't spend any money on it.
So you're working for free?
He's on a flat fee. He gets paid what he gets paid
But
every month.
it wasn't him, it was the redevelopment lawyer.
Doesn't matter. They
Okay.
didn't charge us for that.
So why would we be financing a project for a private business?
Because it's part of a way to achieve a redevelopment project. It's not uncommon, Dan.
Not uncommon?
No,
Never
it's
heard of
fairly
it before.
common.
It's not,
No.
Dan. It's not.
So we're gonna finance that for everybody in the town then?
No, we haven't done anything. You received an email that was inconclusive.
For circling the airport. He wants his money back so the borough can pay for everything.
We're waiting for them to get back to
No,
us,
that's not
okay?
it, bro.
It is, I got the email.
No, it's not.
And also, I brought up last month about the construction that they're doing and dumping everything in the parking lot on Second Street.
Mm-hmm.
The sidewalk is now on the street. They destroyed the sidewalk, the street, and they haven't done anything. That wasn't taken care of.
Problem, I know the weather's been interfering with what the current.
Oh, they've been working every day, it's just that they dump rock, the
No, I
sidewalk.
mean-
They knocked over the no parking sign.
Yeah,
They just
no,
put a
that place is a mess now.
5-gallon bucket over top of it. And, Matt, who's our special counsel representing the borough for the fire down in 2016?
What do you mean? The special counsel
Representing the town for the lawsuit that we have against the town.
Are you talking about who's defending, or who's?
Who's defending the borough?
Offhand, I don't know. I think it's from the JIF. I think the JIF, our insurer, the appointed counsel.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Straub?
Jack Straub, 239 Main Street. Could I change the subject and present a little good news? After the Christmas tree lighting, received a notice from our marketing company that does our social media, and they wanted to post a post that they had received, a frantic mother whose daughter had lost a stuffed animal, and some of you have told this story. So I called them up, I said, we'd rather not post photo of, young girl, that sort of thing, but please have the mother get in touch with me. So I got the email, it says, hi, we were at the tree lighting last night. My daughter lost her beloved stuffed horse, Horsey. The last photo I have, we are almost up to see Santa, and from there, Horsey was lost. is there any possibility that you could create a post in the event that anyone happened to come across it? She's just devastated. Here's a photo of her and her horsey from October. So I did some investigating, I called Santa, and I was told that he in fact had heard that possibly a stuffed animal had been turned into
It
the
was
police,
turned in,
to the
yes.
police department.
Mrs. Sanders turned it into the police department.
So I checked with the police department and it was there. So then I took a photo of Horsey outside by the tree with the little thing and sent the photo to the mother, told her Horsey was fine, he was with Santa. And so then she sent a note back and said that she was thrilled, her and her daughter live in Howell, but her mother, the girl's grandmother, lives here in Keyport. She would stop by. So met her here, gave her the Horsey, started chatting with her. Her maiden name was Ralph, and I said, were you in relation to the former mayor? She said, yeah, that was my father. So the little girl that lost and found her horse was the great-granddaughter of William Ralph, who was the mayor of Keyport in the 70s. So thanks to everybody for helping out.
Tough to beat that story.
I know.
Come on, Ed, Berlin, 59 West Front Street, Keyport. What's going on with the Cummings property, old Cummings property? Anybody know?
The answer is nothing. It's been sold to, I believe the name of the company is Deputy Ventures, and they had plans to construct what was approved, but they haven't got it off the ground. I've always believed that it's a challenge site, and I thought it was ill-advised to build many homes at that location, but they haven't shown any progress. I haven't heard from them. From time to time, we have enforcement actions that we pursue with regard to high weeds or litter in the area, and they usually just pay, any fine or the remediate situation, but I haven't had any discussions with them. And in fact, they may be out of time. I think they're supposed to build by a certain date. I'll follow up on that.
2 years at a time? How's,
Something along those lines.
and then what, then we'd have to
They'd have to go
reapply?
back, yeah.
Wasn't everything all settled 2 years ago, or?
Yeah, I thought they were ready to break ground, but they haven't done anything.
That's strange. Okay, thank you.
Chief Hafner.
Hello. Sorry I didn't get to see you earlier. As you all know, I've had a rough week with the passing of my father. As you know, the police department in November participates in No Shave November, and what we do is we collect money for the food pantry for those in need during the holiday season. And I'd like to present Mr. Cooper $600 for go towards the food pantry. One other thing I would like to bring up, I know it's been brought up before. Matter of fact, Mr. Gow and I have had several conversations about memorial benches. My father, he was sergeant for the Borough of Keyport. He got tragically hurt while performing his duties as a police officer for the Borough of Keyport in 1990. I would like to see if we can go forth and get some kind of memorial, whether it be a bench.
Sure.
Anything, I know we've been talking about getting the benches back on, but I'd like to see if the borough could help me out with that. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Our condolences too.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to come forward from the public? Have a motion to close?
Motion closed.
Second.
All in favor?
What do we have to close?
2 items in closed session. One relates to personnel matters, the other relates to attorney-client privilege contract negotiations. I don't anticipate action being taken when the governing body comes out of closed, just as a heads up to all those in attendance. So I guess we can move forward with that resolution.
Before we go into close, and because I am human and I did make a mistake, my notes at home when I went through my agenda, I did intend on having a moment of silence in honor of Sergeant Hafner, and I apologize that that was not in the beginning of the meeting, but if we can all please take a moment of silence and keep the Hafner family in our prayers. Thank you. to go into closed session. For the matter of public, we will be going into the conference room, so the public can remain in here if they wish.
Make a motion on close.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.